there are some huge changes happening right now to the US housing market, and some of these changes are actually going to be surprising you because based on my own analysis of Realtor.com's latest data, there's some very interesting dynamics happening right now in the US housing market. This video is my weekly video I make for you guys each and every week regarding home prices, housing inventory, new listings, and also the share of price reductions as well. I hope you guys get a lot of value in today's video. And of course, if you do, please hit the like button. Also, consider subscribing as well. I post frequent housing market updates so you guys can be more informed. This video is based on this report from Realtor.com. And just like my previous videos, I did not even read it. Instead, go to Realtor.com/research/data. Click on weekly inventory and then click on this link right here. And by the way, I'll provide a link in the video description below. So if my analysis agrees to theirs or it's different, then please leave me a comment below. So here's my own analysis of their data. This is their data, but my own analysis, right? I actually missed the previous 2 weeks. I made a video regarding June's numbers about 1 week ago. But let's talk about the week ended July 13th. Which is fantastic because we won't get July's data from the National Association of Realtors until basically the end of August. So this is really timely updates. Let's first talk about asking prices on a national level. Every market's different. I'm going to share some changes from each of the states because there's some very big differences here in a little bit regarding inventory levels. Anyways, asking prices were flat year over year last week. This is a new trend because the growth of asking prices compared to the same time frame in 2023 has been more or less flat ever since February this year due to, in my opinion, rising inventory and around 7% 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates. This double whammy of rising inventory and elevated rates has been limiting home sales, causing inventory to grow further as houses take longer to sell, as I'll share with you guys here in a little bit. This should limit home price growth of closed home sales in the near term. In other words, if asking prices are flat year over year, we can't expect to see record high home prices for the remainder of the year due to stagnant asking prices and of course due to seasonality as well, where home prices tend to decrease in the last half each and every year on average. All right, so that's asking prices. Let's talk about housing inventory. Some very big changes here. And this is actually one that may surprise you. So inventory, this is active listing count or the total amount of houses for sale of existing houses, excluding brand new home construction. That increased by 35.8% year over year. Now here's a change. There's been more houses for sale this year compared to last year for the past 36 consecutive weeks ever since mid-November. The good news is that this means there's more houses to choose from if you're looking to buy a house right now. Now here's a change though, because the year-over-year growth rate has been more or less stagnant for the past 2 months. The growth rate compared to the same time frame in 2023 has been paid at around 35 to 38%. In other words, we have more houses for sale compared to last year, but the growth rate has been more or less stagnant at around 33 or 35 to about 38%. In other words, inventory is not skyrocketing like it did in 2022. So my take on this stagnant growth rate of inventory levels is likely from single-digit gains of new supply in the market. In other words, new listings rising by less than 10% year over year. I'll share news regarding new listings here in a little bit. Let's first talk about inventory levels. And if you guys follow the channel, you guys all know I like to share multiple sources on the channel. So a great one is altosresearch.com. They're not promoting today's video, but they have a fantastic website. Anyways, 1 year ago, we had approximately 472,000 existing houses for sale. Now, 651,000. That's a gain of around 180,000 year over year. Now, just like the stats I shared regarding Realtor.com, this growth rate up by 38% year over year, according to my own analysis of Altos Research data, has again been paid. Has been paid at around 38% for about 1 month now. So in other words, over the past 1 month, inventory is basically increasing at the same rate of last year. So therefore, the growth rate is more or less flat over the past 1 month, paid at a gain of 38% year over year. However, having said that, here is Altos Research.com's data regarding inventory, because at 651,000 during the same time frame, this is at least a 4-year high, higher than 2020, which is kind of a new trend right now. Back then, 632,000 houses for sale. Now there's 651,000. However, we still have approximately 32% fewer existing houses for sale compared to the same time frame in 2019, when at that time there was around 958,000 houses for sale. Also, if I zoom in over the past 2 years, we can see how the gains of inventory this year are higher than last year. But again, over the past 1 month has been paid at a gain of 38%. But the inventory gains we saw in 2022, inventory is basically going straight up starting in March. This year, inventory has been increasing slowly ever since February. I shouldn't say slowly, faster than last year overall, but much lower than the rate we saw back in 2022. But wait, there's more. I want to share this as well because there's approximately 152,000 more houses for sale right now compared to the start this year. So year to date, we're up by 30%. Compare that to the same time frame last year, which is basically January through mid-July last year. Inventory was flat. In other words, housing supply is growing much faster this year compared to last year overall. Inventory is also rising faster compared to 2017 through 2019, up by about 26% from January through June this year. This is based on my own analysis of Realtor.com's latest data. Now here's where it gets interesting though, because the gains so far this year, so year to date, up by 26% from January through June this year, is actually much higher compared to the gains of 13% on average from 2017 through 2019. Same time frame, January through June in 2017 through 2019. So basically the growth rate so far this year is basically double the rate compared to pre-COVID levels. However, though, this is the kicker though, the increase so far this year, again, up by 26%, is half that during the same time frame of 2022, when at that time, inventory increased by 52% from January through June that year. This is why I do not expect to see a sharp correction this year like we saw in 2022. Again, though, let's keep an eye on incoming data because, of course, a lot could change. So to summarize this, because that was a lot of information to cover, in my opinion, it's really important to follow inventory levels because inventory is really going to tell us the story. It's an early indication of our housing market. If inventory starts skyrocketing, that puts more downward pressure on home prices. And in contrast, when inventory is basically stagnant, like we're seeing right now over the past 1 or 2 months, that's going to put less downward pressure on home prices. In any case, to summarize, inventory is up by about 38% year over year, according to data from Realtor.com, but it's also rising faster compared to pre-COVID levels. However, the rate of increase is only half that we saw in 2022 so far. And lastly, like I mentioned, we have approximately 32% fewer houses for sale compared to the same time frame in 2019. All right, that was housing inventory, the amount of houses for sale. Let's have a look at new supply hitting the market or new listings. If you're a homeowner, you list your house for sale, that is a new listing, which becomes part of active listing inventory, if that makes sense. Anyways, new listings rose by only 8.8% last week. But first, I want to mention this because last week, which was the July 4th holiday, I said, 3 weeks ago, how we should expect to see a decrease of new listings. And there you go, down by 4.9%. A lot of people are out of town or they don't want to list their house during the holidays. And therefore, that's why we saw the sharp pullback down by 4.9%. So that's number one. Here's number two. And this is a big one because new listings have completely lost momentum ever since the beginning of May. So basically for 1 or 2.5 months, new listings have been rising by single digits, except for the week ended July 29th, of course. That saw a gain of 10.8% just before the July 4th holiday. In my opinion, this single-digit gain of new listings is likely why we're not seeing inventory absolutely exploding right now. again, paid around 35 to around 38% for about 2 months now. In contrast, kind of just imagine a scenario in which inventory was just absolutely skyrocketing, building each and every week, and also new listings rising by double digits. That'd be a recipe for disaster, and I'd be kind of waving my red flag saying, hey guys, this is going to be a correction coming soon. But so far this year, we're seeing new listings not skyrocketing, active listings up, big time compared to a year ago, but the gains are actually losing momentum. So in other words, this would look a lot different if inventory was absolutely skyrocketing like we saw in 2022. All right, I hope you guys are getting a lot of value of today's video. I absolutely love making this video, by the way, because I can just get nerdy and share an Excel spreadsheet, which technically is a Google Doc anyways. I hope you guys are getting a lot of value of today's video. I know my videos are probably not very entertaining, but I love being analytical and sharing my own analysis of other companies' data. Anyways, I think it's probably why you watch my videos, right? All right, let's change gears and talk about how fast or how slow houses are selling right now. This is another big change because last week it took 5 days longer to sell a house on average compared to 1 year ago. Also, this is the same change last week, a gain of 5 days on average, which may not sound like a lot, but this is actually the biggest increase compared to 1 year ago since August last year. Let's just kind of hover down here. August last year, it's right here. It took 6 days longer to sell a house compared to August of 2022. But we saw from the beginning of October all the way until we hit March 23rd, houses were selling faster compared to the previous year. Now, ever since really May 11th, houses taking longer to sell, which is all contributing to the rise of inventory right now. All right, let's also talk about the number of price reductions compared to 12 months ago. That increased by 52.2%. This is significant. It has been paid around 50 to about 55% for quite some time, but the number of price reductions has been higher compared to 2023 for the past 25 consecutive weeks. In regards to the share of price reductions, according to AltosResearch.com, for the week ended July 12th, we're at 38% on a national level. This is at least a 5-year high during the same time frame, going back to at least 2019. But at 38%, again, higher than last year at 33%, higher than 2022 at 33% as well, and much higher compared to 2021, and of course 2020, when the share of price drops was at 25%. And just to provide a forecast regarding the share of price drops, is that the share of price drops tends to peak around October and November each and every year. And here we are in basically the middle of July. So we probably have a long ways to go because the share of price drops tends to peak in the winter months. So we could be in a scenario in which in, let's just say October, November, we could have at least a 5-year high for any month regarding the share of price drops. What's different than this year compared to 2022 though, is that back in March, the share of price drops at 17%, then by the time we hit this time in 2022, we're at 33%. So share price drops basically doubled from March through mid-July that year. This year, the trough was basically in middle of February at 30%. Now it's only at 38%. So if we had last year, we'd be at 60% already. But we basically started at a high level already, but the rate of increase is not nearly as bad as 2022, which again, it's that, but also the rate of change of inventory, which in my opinion, is not going to cause this correction like we saw in 2022. I don't expect that to happen this year due to those reasons. Okay, let's go over a summary of today's video because there's a lot of info that I shared in today's video, right? So number one, the growth rate of asking prices has lost ground ever since February. This is from a significant increase in the number of houses for sale, as well as elevated mortgage rates and home prices, causing sales to remain low. Number two, housing inventory increased by 38% year over year last week, but the growth rate has been stagnant for the past 2 months, hovering around a gain of 35 to about 38%. In my opinion, this is from a single-digit gains of new supply in the market or new listings. However, there's still about 32% fewer houses for sale nationwide compared to 2019. And now, like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, real estate is local. So I want to share this with you guys. This is based on data from Realtor.com for the month of June compared to June of 2019, obviously pre-COVID levels. So in Texas, Idaho, and Florida, they have more houses for sale right now compared to the same time frame in June of 2019. Texas is up by 5%, Idaho up by 4%, and Florida saw a small gain up by 0.4%. This is a big change because last month, back in May, there was only one state that had more houses for sale compared to pre-COVID, and that was Texas. Now there's 3 states. On top of that, there is 4 states that are very close to being at levels we saw in 2019. That's Tennessee, Arizona, Washington State, and Colorado. Not too far off, only down by single digits or less than 10%. Since June of 2019. And by the way, I'll probably share more stats regarding other states in a future video, but I want to share this with you guys. And that, by the way, was based on data from ResiClubAnalytics.com. They pulled data from Realtor.com, believe it or not. So here's a look at the nation as a whole. Every market's different. I mean, you can look at different markets in California, different markets in Nevada, but for the states and regions, very, very big changes here. So in Texas, again, up by 5%. Technically, it's up by 4.6 compared to June of 2019. Idaho is up by 4.3. Florida is up by 0.4%. Look at that one year change, up by 71.4%. Texas up by 42% year over year. Idaho up by only 20%. But then we have Tennessee only down by 3.1%. Arizona down by 8.7%. Washington State down by 7.4%. And Colorado down by 5.9%. So these are the states that are very close to being at, the same number of houses for sale compared to June of 2019. In contrast, look at California. We're down by 34% from pre-COVID levels. Also, for much of the Midwest as well as the Northeast, they're down greatly. Look at, what is this? This is Vermont, down by 67%. Compared to Texas, up by 5%. Pennsylvania's down by 53%. Connecticut's down a whopping 76%. So go figure why they have record high home prices in the Northeast, whereas Texas, Florida are experiencing decreases in some markets. Especially we have Dallas and Austin, Texas, are the 2 metros in which Redfin reported today that they have a decrease in their median sale price compared to 1 year ago. All right, moving on. Number 3, 78% of homeowners who do have a loan on their house have an interest rate below 5%. And again, the daily rate as of today is around 6.8%. This, of course, has been limiting the amount of people listing their house for sale. A lot of people do not want to take on a 7% rate and give up a 3-4% rate, right? Thus, this is keeping inventory well below 2019's levels, but not in Florida, Idaho, and Texas, though, right? Anyways, new listings have been increasing by less than 10% since May this year, which has been limiting the rise to housing supply on a national level. Number 4, the share of price drops is at least a 5-year high during the same time frame, and has been rising faster than 2023, but not as fast as 2022. A friendly reminder, the share of price drops tends to have some seasonality to it. And again, it tends to peak in the winter months. Number 5, last week, houses on average took 5 days longer to sell, and houses have been sitting in the market longer compared to the same time frame last year for the past 10 weeks. This is a lag indication, though, based on a closed home sale. But wait, there's more. I want to share kind of like some tidbits regarding, some things that happened to our housing market over the past couple of weeks, and also give you guys an update regarding mortgage rates as well, and of course, housing affordability. Number 1, average 30-year fixed rate mortgage rates are below October 2023's peak of 8% on average. But housing affordability is still a giant issue. Home buyers are basically facing this double whammy: record high home prices, or close to that, and of course, elevated rates as well. Number 2, the most recent stats we have regarding mortgage purchase applications, that's from the MBA, for the week ended July 12th, was down 14% year over year. So the amount of people who are submitting applications to buy houses using loans is down by 14% from 12 months ago. Also, the National Association of Realtors reported that pending home sales for existing houses in May fell by 7% year over year to a new all-time record low for data that goes back to the year of 2001. So based on their data, which is a seasonally adjusted index regarding pending home sales, a measure of contracts being signed between buyers and sellers, that fell to a 23-year low. I'll have an update regarding NAR's data for the month of May, which will be reported in about 1 week. They tend to report pending home sale data about 3 weeks after month end. So that's regarding the existing or resale market. Pending home sales down by 7%. In contrast, looking at new home construction sales, which the U.S. Census Bureau defines as a contract being signed between a home buyer and home builder. So this is really more acting like a pending home sale. For the month of May, dropped by a whopping 17% year over year. So homeowners offering closing cost credits, lower mortgage rates, and free builder upgrades did not help boost home sales in May on a national level. The drop of sales for new houses is absolutely staggering, given the fact that there's more new houses for sale this May than any other month going back to February of 2008. So they have sales decreasing by 17%, even though supply is the greatest level since February of 2008. A severe imbalance between supply and demand, at least for the month of May. I'll have an update regarding new home construction sales, I believe, next week. So stay tuned regarding that. Number 3, looking forward for the nation as a whole, asking prices were flat. Inventory's up by about 38%. Homes are taking longer to sell, and we're seeing a rise of price reductions compared to last year. All these metrics are pointing to a softening housing market, but of course, like I mentioned regarding inventory, it could look a lot worse. So for example, if mortgage rates were absolutely skyrocketing, rising to 8% once again, and or if inventory was absolutely skyrocketing as well, that would be bad for a housing market. Let's just say that. That'd just be a much different scenario than we're seeing right now. Let's just say that. We need to see more data. Of course, a lot could change. I'll keep you posted regarding that. Plus, every market's different. Inventory in California and the Northeast is down greatly compared to pre-COVID levels, much different compared to inventory absolutely piling up in Texas, Idaho, and Florida. Number 4, the most important one. If you guys are still watching today's video, then I'll give you a virtual high five. I appreciate that so much. Please like and subscribe. Also, if you guys want a real estate agent referral, please check out my website, which is realestateteamfinder.com. I would love to help you get connected with a great real estate agent. With that said, I appreciate you guys so much. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.